You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Welcome to the Big Suey, presented by DraftKings.
Why are you listening to this show?
The podcast that seems very similar to the other Dan Le Batard podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for that.
In fact, the only difference seems to be this imaging.
I have been tempted in restaurants just walking past tables to grab somebody's fries that if they're just there. That hasn't happened to you guys?
I've done it.
And now, here's the marching man to nowhere, Fat Face, and the habitual liar.
It came at considerable expense, but Meadowlark Media has built a giant Elon Musk fast flume that will take me back from here in New York to Miami to interview Cam Newton here in the Big Suey. I will be back in Miami, and I'll just fly there very quickly because of all of the work Skipper has done to build tunnels between New York and Miami. So Cam Newton will join us here in a little bit. And we're doing, obviously, big things at Meadowlark Media. We're going out to the Super Bowl, a whole bunch of people, and we're excited about what we're going to do with Las Vegas. I saw a digital billboard, Stugotz, that I would imagine you were very excited about, that's on the side of the Circa Hotel. We've got new T-shirts that are going to come out later today, lebatardaf.com, to celebrate some of the things that we're going to be doing in Las Vegas. And we've had a ton of RSVPs, and there's still room, right? We've had to change a lot of things. We were going to do it in a smaller venue, but we've had to do it now in a larger venue. And the Circa has been an excellent partner where they're advertising it. We're going to make a big splash. We're going to look cool and different, and it's going to be a lot of fun to be doing this away from Radio Row when we go to the Super Bowl. And I'm getting more and more excited about it, Stugotz. But at about noon today, we will drop some Moss shirts if you want them. They're very cool. lebatardaf.com is where you go. I didn't get to this in the local hour, Stugotz, so I want to get to it now because as media changes and fractures, and as people make their own newspapers, I have seen that Jake Irsay is reporting that Duncan Robinson has been made untouchable by the Miami Heat.
That's funny.
I just don't believe that. I don't believe
he's
that
touchable.
Yeah. I think he's touchable. Yes, I believe. I too have enjoyed his improvement, and I too would want on my team, no matter my team, to have someone who could do that from inside and outside. I do believe he's lining up to be, if not the most improved player in the league, one of them. But
Dan, do they have a fine bucket in New York because you made Jake Fisher Jake Irsay?
Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't read my own my own handwriting here.
That's
so yeah, I'll put
$5
down here.
Well,
it's
it's $10. It's actually 10.
Bad penmanship.
Yeah. Said the name wrong, and you can't read your own handwriting. That's $5 and $5, $10, Dano.
Can we get to the original point though? And
what was
you
it?
shouldn't
Duncan
trust
Robinson
media.
is untouchable. I mean, that's laughable. That is ludicrous. Let me tell you that. Like, if the right guy is available to the Heat, Pat Riley's going to draw the line at Duncan Robinson. I don't buy it.
I love your exclusive. I love your exclusive report. Stugotz of Meadowlark Media. Duncan Robinson, touchable.
Yes, let's report that. But I guess the larger point, a larger conversation that I want to have with you guys, because media is changing and where the credibility goes when people have to do their own discernment. You see that a whole lot of people are mad at Adam Schefter for reporting Jason Kelce's retirement before Jason Kelce was ready to report his retirement. Jason Kelce, in the emotion of the moment, they lose to Tampa Bay. The single best time to ask a football player if he wants to quit is as soon as his season has ended. That's the time that you're going to get the most people saying, yes, I would like to no longer play this sport. If you ask them in the emotion of losing and their body's hurting after 17 games or 18 games, if you're playing playoff games. And I wanted to ask you, because a lot of people make the joke, Stugotz, that Tom Brady came back just to make Adam Schefter's report wrong. But Adam Schefter tends to get it right when he's reporting that people are retiring. And my question to you is, what is the media's responsibility in that situation, because it seems to me that a lot of fans are getting mad because Jason Kelce doesn't get to do this intimate personal thing, doesn't get to have control over what he's doing because the information people are fighting over who gets to report it first, and something that should be personal, emotional, and something that is shared privately with your family is something that we feel entitled to as sports fans because we love and we pay the information guys to give us the information first.
Adam Schefter is a reporter. He's a very good reporter, perhaps the best NFL reporter that we have. His job is to report the news that he gets from his sources, and I'm okay with Schefter making that report. Jason Kelce needs to learn, Dan, if he wants to do this stuff on his own platforms, it takes a minute to get used to it because I believe that's what's at play. That Jason Kelce wanted to announce this on his terms, on his platform, on his very popular podcast, and did not have the opportunity to do it. I don't blame Adam Schefter for it. I blame Jason Kelce for letting it out, for saying it.
If it's that important to him to keep it under wraps, here's a thought. Don't tell anyone.
Yep.
Okay, and I get that, but it doesn't explain how people are reacting to it when they already hate the media. And I don't know, Stugotz, I really don't know, given the general entitlements that we have to people's privacy if they're famous. Jim Irsay and his family are now requesting that we respect the family's privacy when it would appear that he is overdosed. He was reportedly found cold. The Colts owner was found cold, and what is being reported by him is respiratory issues. But other people are pointing out and understanding that he's admitted in the past that he's been to rehab at least 15 times. Are we supposed to respect the privacy of an NFL owner who has apparently overdosed and has a drug problem by his own admission, if he's been to rehab 15 times and has had the public controversy of finding a bunch of pills and cash in his car? Like, what are we entitled to, and what is privacy? Because you say keep it to yourself, but that's kind of becoming increasingly hard to do in the modern age, and going to be even harder to do when we're paying the information people in rewards of $10 million a year to get that information.
Jason Kelce retiring, it's a totally different story, Dan. It's Irsay's more personal, but with that being said, it's really tricky because he's a public figure. He's the owner of an NFL team, and he has a history with stuff like this. And so I think the initial report is fair. If you want to keep it private after that, that's fine. But I'm just not certain what the reporter's obligation is there.
Did we not respect Jim Irsay's privacy? Did we not? Like a couple weeks ago when I think most people privately met the respiratory illness with a fair amount of skepticism because of what Dan has articulated, because it's known about Jim Irsay and his past and his struggles with dependence. Didn't we? And aren't we? Aren't we?
Well, it's being reported,
we haven't. This is the first time we've talked about it,
right?
But I think we are still, even in mentioning it, we're respecting the man's privacy. No, it just feels like a bit of a straw man to me.
To go back to the retirement thing, this happens a lot when in college football, when you find out that a coach is leaving to go to another school. Like it happened this year right before Tulane's bowl game. People found out Willie Fritz was leaving, and people always get mad at the reporter. But I guess to play like reporter's advocate, if you find out a scoop for something, and I don't know how Adam Schefter knew he was retiring, who Jason Kelce told or whatever, it's not really your job to time it right for that person, especially if someone else might break the news too. And I assume that's kind of the rule that Adam Schefter goes by.
His job is to break NFL news.
Yeah, like I can see why it sucks for the player, but I guess I see both sides of it. But the reporter's job isn't to like do the best by the person whose information they're breaking necessarily.
Jason Kelce evidently said it in the locker room to his teammates, and that is how it spread. And many people in a locker room believe that what gets said in a locker room stays in a locker room. You're right, Stugotz. They are different situations, but I'm the part that I'm interested in on Irsay when it comes to the definitions of privacy is when Lamar Odom had a drug problem, we did not respect his privacy. And to my way of thinking, if you're an NFL owner, these people often live in the shadows somehow, even though they have the most power to control all of the things. They have the most money and power. To me, they are less deserving of the privacy than most people grading on this scale. Now, I would agree with you in general. Yes, I would like human beings to be able to have privacy, but that's not the world we're living in. And if you have people who are rewarded for reporting this stuff, for the invasions of that privacy, should it be not invaded the most when it comes to the most powerful of people, when they have public incidents that suggest, hey, the person with this enormous power clearly has a drug problem. He's running a team. It's a team that has, I'm assuming, as all of these do, publicly financed stadiums and money that they're making because of people around them who have less money and fund these economies. To me, are those people not deserving, even understanding? Yes, human beings deserve a certain amount of privacy, but the ship has sailed on that one. There are too many media entities, and this is one of the reasons that people hate the media, too many media entities that are profiting off of violating that privacy. But would you not agree, Stugotz, that the people least entitled to that privacy are public figures with the most power?
I would agree. I would also tell you it's not a reporter's job to pick and choose. It's a reporter's job to report, regardless of how high it goes up. If it goes to Roger Goodell, to an owner, to a player, a reporter's job is to report on the sport they are reporting on. And so I agree with you, Dan, but you can't pick and choose these things. Like, you just gotta, when you get a report, you gotta get it out there.
Out of the two
or
of
else
you,
someone else will.
Out of the two of you, Stugotz is the one arguing for the merits of journalism here. That is what a reporter's job is.
But some reporters do pick and choose, which does muddy the waters.
No, and it's only going to get more muddied with the NFL having a stake in ESPN.
It's all changing, is my point. My point is that Stugotz advocating for journalism and me marveling at how much is changing here puts us in opposite positions. I'm going to leave now. I'm going to leave the rest of this journalism to Stugotz.
Who are you?
From here.
Well, Stu and Dan will take it from here. Dan is going to leave, but Dan is going to be right back with Cam Newton. We actually had Cam Newton for an extended period of time, and I'll close out the Big Suey here. Somebody that we wanted to have on the show, and you will be very happy to know that his hat is ridiculous and his getup. But I mean, we want to talk about normalizing behavior and platforming. Someone needs to do something about this getup because it's absurd. I
like it. No, hold on. I like it. The hats are from Bozeman. I'm digging the hats.
I got to get in the flume. I got to get in the Meadowlark flume.
Get down here, Dan.
All right. Cam Newton, next.
Forget the noise and pressure around fitness at New Year's. Start in a way that's right for you, whether that's rowing or shadow boxing or biking or just simple meditation. They've got you covered. Peloton's making it easier to get started. Right now, when you buy a bike or Bike Plus, get 2 months free Peloton All Access membership. Peloton helps you start no matter what level you're at. Wherever you're starting, there's thousands of classes to get you moving. Whether that's beginner or advanced rides, feel-good live DJ rides, or even artist-themed rides, they've got you covered. Peloton bike instructors keep you motivated from day one. They'll take the guesswork out of your workout, show you the basics, and help you build from there. And now, with Peloton Entertainment, watch your favorite TV shows and live sports as you ride. Perfect for those days when you don't want to miss a thing. Get started with Peloton's limited time offers. Head to onepeloton.com/deals. Terms apply.
Dan Le Batard.
Well, Charlie had this. Charlie, as far as I know, so just Charlie's title in my.
Are you going to say anything?
Stugotz.
How familiar were you at the time with Chewbacca? Like how your upbringing had how much Chewbacca in it?
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
This guy is his own boss and in general is a boss. Allowed to smoke cigars indoors. I am not allowed to do that.
It's his studio.
It is. It's his world. Cam Newton with us. He was the 2015 NFL MVP, the 2010 Heisman Trophy winner, a 3-time Pro Bowler, and he's the host of the shows 4th and 1 and Funky Friday on his YouTube channel. He's going for Media Empire now. What are you smoking? How many cigars will Cam go through in a day? Because it seems like every time I see you these days, you are on camera smoking a cigar.
Life is good, Dan. I can tell you that. They always ask me, what's my favorite cigar? And I simply say my next cigar. In a given day, I probably go through 2 to potentially 3. And that's a good day for me. And I don't do anything more than that. So, yeah, life's good.
Can you take me through? I'm going to talk football with you in a second, but your style choices are unlike anyone, I would say, in the history of your sport. I think you pride yourself on that. So take me through the ensemble you presently have put together. And coming up next, I've got follow-up questions on just generally your wardrobe, what it is we'd find if we went through the entire...
fit check, Lucy.
Yes.
Fit check.
Fit check with Cam Newton.
Well, listen, I mean, it's simple. I'm all about details. So everything about me is intentional, from the way I speak to the way I carry myself, from walking and dressing in this manner. Bow tie is essential, is key. Collar pointed upward is key. The trench coat, is this a trench?
I don't think that's a trench coat. I don't. But
how long does it go down?
It's.
Does it go all the way down to the ankles? No, that's not.
Not a trench. Not a trench.
It's longer. It's longer than a blazer, though.
Is that a duster?
It is longer than a blazer.
Duster?
Not a duster. Not a duster.
But hey, I mean, I consider my fashion layered fashion. So during these colder days, I'm bundled up rather hefty. So bow tie, sweater, as well as the pants all the way down. Today was a light day. I knew I had to dress to impress for my man, Dan and Stu.
How about the hat? Tell me about the hat and the hat collection.
The hat is Mashika, and we have to get you guys some hat sizes because it is my hat company based in Bozeman, Montana, as well as Venice Beach, Los Angeles. And I have a lot of hats, just to say the least. So, when it comes down to having things to pull from, there's no shortages there. And it's just all about making sure that the aesthetic is always the aesthetic.
How about the yard markers? How do I get one of those?
Why would you want the yard markers?
That looks so cool.
You want yard markers?
Listen, if Cam has it, I want one. I mean,
listen, it's the set design, man. We have to make sure that we embody 4th and 1. That's where I got my name from. Before there was ever a tush push, no slights by no means. I pretty much made my name off of that situation. Gotta have it situation. Hat on a hat, and more times than not, we converted. So,
are you presently holding a gold cigar? Is that cigar gold?
It is. And it was just in my humidor. What? And I was just in Vegas getting prepared for, obviously, our show in Funky for the I Am Iconic Live Tour, as well as being able to host 4th and 1 and potentially Funky Friday while I'm in Vegas for the Super Bowl. And the gentleman gave me an all gold cigar. And I was thought, hey, how fitting, So this is a special occasion where I'm a big fan of you guys' show, and decided this one was the one that's next to smoke.
All right. We're celebrating with the golden cigar. If we were, and again, I will get to football questions, but I've been fascinated by you in general, your personality, how you've carried yourself for a long time. If we were going through your home right now and you were showing off the things that had to impress us, we're playing a game show where you're trying to impress someone else, not that that's your thing. What are some of the things in your home that you would show us, that you would say, this is maximum me?
Well, you'll have to step over a lot of toys, being that I have a lot of children that I love and adore. But, these days it's either media, transportation with my logistics company, or just me being a hands-on dad. And that's what brings me a lot of joy these days.
I imagine your closet's pretty good, though, too, right?
I'm blessed.
Where's the Heisman, Cam?
Honestly, it is it's at my house, but that's not something that I genuinely care about. It's like as soon as awards is kind of obtained, it's on to the next. That's just how I always kind of went about things. Contrary to popular belief, it is what it is. It's just another trophy for me, and just being able to say I was a Heisman Trophy winner is suitable for itself.
What do you regard as your happiest professional day and your toughest professional day?
Ooh, professional?
Yes, just professional.
Okay. Happiest professional day was getting drafted. Worst professional day was losing a Super Bowl.
What can you tell us about that? Because you guys had one loss that season. You were the MVP of the league. That stayed with you how?
I just felt there was so much riding on that game that, take the Super Bowl out, I was more excited that we were going to be able to do something not too many NFL teams could have done. To complete a season with just one loss. I think we were fighting the perfect season in Miami that year, losing I think it was on Christmas Eve. But all in all, that was just something that I just look back and say, damn, I really wish, we was able to kind of find a way to win that game, because so much outside of a Super Bowl was just winning. We wasn't the most talented team, but I do think that we were the best team. When I say team, I'm talking about guys really cared about each other. They really embodied the harmony and the hard work that any great team kind of goes about it. And it showed. So, when you look at that roster, it wasn't just star-studded with skill on paper, but what it did was show the importance of guys really getting along with each other and understanding their roles and responsibilities, and making sure that they were held accountable to perform at a high level. Some would say more than what the expectations was, but, not a lot of teams can say that they won how we won that year, 2015.
You played such a physical style, Cam. Can you tell us if there was any one game more than any other where you woke up the next day or 2 days afterward and the body felt the worst because quarterbacks weren't often used the way that you were used?
Well, quarterbacks weren't awfully used how we're seeing quarterbacks be used these days. I seen Josh Allen and that run yesterday. It was just something that I just tipped my hat off of too, because, the game has changed. The game has evolved, and those drop back, just stationary quarterbacks are now the minorities of the league. When I first came in, that position wasn't being played how I was playing it. Now, when you look around the league, there's so many athletic quarterbacks playing, whether they kind of lean towards running more so than passing or vice versa. It still doesn't matter. Everybody has a capability of getting outside the pocket and still attacking the defense in many different ways.
Cam, which of your businesses are you most excited about?
Iconic Saga, my production company. And I see a lot of different, I always say this, we're living in the golden age of media because it's athlete-generated content, and we have that platform now. Gone are the days where somebody just speaks on how we played or certain situations that may have happened throughout a game. Now athletes are able to control their own narrative, and everybody can start one. You have the means to do so, but I don't think a lot of people execute hiring the right personnel behind the scenes to the magnitude that sustains longevity. And that's what I'm just trying to do here at Iconic Saga. And, I have an unbelievable team here. And we just try to get out great content for people to not only feel or be entertained, but also informed about certain things as well.
What are your greatest objections to how NFL media covered you?
Where's the credentials? That's a big kind of concern for me, because we all can talk about the sport, but I think oftentimes when something is said, similar to what I said, let's use the most recent example about game manager versus game changer. I mean, that kind of went viral for what it was, but I never was degrading or trying to suppress a specific talent. My thinking was backed by merit. And I think a lot of people kind of get into a space where they just speak something and not be held accountable. The main reason why I started Funky Friday, the main reason why I started, 4th and 1 as the sports show was to hold reporters, coaches, GMs, as well as players accountable to certain things. I mean, over the past weekend, really over the past week, there's been some examples of people that have said some rather interesting takes and nobody's held them accountable. Paul Feinbaum, his take on, Michigan. Nobody's talking about that. They're not holding them to the fire like they held me to the fire in regards to speaking about Brock Purdy, Tua Tagovailoa, Jared Goff, as well as Dak Prescott. Stephen A. Smith, went on to say the Texans have zero chance of winning. And obviously, what do we have for that? He's just going on, still making his certain takes. So, I'm not saying that to say that they're bad people. I'm just saying we just have to hold people to a standard and hold them accountable in every aspect of sports, not just the players in this case.
Cam, stay there. We're going to come back with Cam Newton right after this.
Hey, it's Mike Ryan. I love football, and I love Miller Lite. Why do I love Miller Lite? Well, dependable flavor, the fact that it's a beer that tastes like beer, the fact that when I'm having a Miller Lite, I don't have to think for 1 second about the beer that I'm drinking. And I know that it's only 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. It's my favorite beer. I believe in the product. You might be sick of hearing me talk about it, but I'll be talking about it till I'm old and gray, because Miller Lite is with me wherever I go, no matter the season, and especially the wintertime. I love drinking Miller Lite during the winters because when it's cold outside, I don't need a koozie for it. It stays a perfect temp. It is the best beer, and it pairs well with playoff football. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere that they sell beer. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Dan Le Batard.
Let's go to 80.
Bo. His name is Bo.
Wow. I think Billy typed an 8 instead of a B. Fine.
It's a clear as day, Bo.
All right, $2.
Stugotz.
Number 80. Go ahead. It's Chris Corner on the line. CC, go ahead.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
You mentioned, Cam, the game manager thing. The most important skill for a modern quarterback is what, according to Cam Newton?
The ability to manage a game is essential. But hear me out. What makes it completely different is when you have a game changer, they've resorted to all options to say, it's now time for me to take over the game because that receiver is covered, that player is covered. Now I have to resort to some type of skill that I have in my repertoire to showcase. We've seen the Peyton Mannings do that with elite accuracy, the Tom Brady's of the world, the Drew Breeses of the world. The ones that are game changers also have that ability to manage the game, but the game changers have the ability to take over the game once all options are still kind of covered. So
the distinction you're making between game manager and game changer is that, the people took it as an insult, but those guys that you view as game managers are just game managers, where the very best of the quarterbacks can also do the game managing, but then are also game changers. They could do both of the things.
It's levels. It's like tiers. When I see a guy like Patrick Mahomes, everybody can still be covered, and he still has a unique ability to still buy time to throw an accurate ball outside of the pocket on the run, or just his beyond normal ability to, have an arm angle to complete a pass or whatever. That's game changing. And I think some quarterbacks have it, some players have it, some players don't.
Give me the teams, the number of teams. I don't want you to take out anybody by name, but give me the number of teams you think right now would be better off with you at quarterback.
There's no need. I am what I am, and I'm fine where I'm at. But at the same time, I look at if I had certain skill set while I was playing, personnel alongside of me while I was playing, man, that would have been nice. But, to refrain from being viewed as a bitter player that can't play anymore, I'll let you be the judge of that. And
the Jets.
Well, Jets.
I said it.
It's a list of them. It's a list.
All right.
As I look at from personnel, a skill set standpoint, had I had that, then who knows? Not to say that the teammates that I played with in my career wasn't good enough, because they were. I've had the ability to play with the Ryan Khalils, the Luke Kuechly's, the Greg Olsons, the Thomas Davis, the Steve Smiths of the world. And we've made as much that we could do with what we had.
Is Steve Smith the teammate that you have that you would regard as the most feared by others in the locker room? Or is there another name that you would point to as a guy that was more feared than that teammate?
I think you just pulled a Dan Patrick right there. Just insinuate. Like, you answered the question without me even having to answer the question. But, yes. I mean, there's no denying Steve Smith was a force on the field, off the field, in the locker room, in the cafeteria, in traffic. That's just who he was. And my only regret with Steve Smith is that I wish I was older as a player rather than him wanting to win yesterday. By the time I came into the league, I was a young player, and that team, in essence, was labeled a rebuilding team. And he was a very competitive person, as we all know him to be, and he wanted to win. And I don't think he had as much time as I had. But going back, and if I could change anything, I wish I would have had Steve Smith during my 5th and 6th year, where now I understood how to be a professional. Because it's a 365 sport, working on your body, working on certain things in the off season, getting guys together, and those things you don't necessarily know as a rookie. You're just going with the flow and trying to find your own way that you can create your own routine. But I've learned so much from the Steve Smiths and the Jordan Grosses of the world that, they had a big impact of, the type of player that I grew to be.
You mentioned going back and doing stuff over. What else would you choose, do you think, when you go back and think about the things? Not doing regret necessarily, but just things you would have liked to have known earlier in your life.
Coach Mike Shula always would tell me this. And first off, I wouldn't take back anything, but he would always say, things are not as good as you make it seem, and things are not as bad as you make it seem either. So that's pretty much where I'm at in life as a whole. The work has pretty much been done, and it speaks for itself. And I'm a guy that is very easily critiqued or analyzed because I'm able to speak my mind and speak my truth and how I feel it to be, not how Stu sees it or Dan sees it. We all have our own opinions about certain things. I just speak it and, let it fall how it fall. In some way, shape, form, some people get distracted by, how I dress or, how I played or whatever it is. But needless to say, this space that I'm in right now in life is just all about creating the best content I possibly can.
Fill in the blank for me here with some names. Just fill in the blank, a name. And if you want to elaborate, you can, but you don't have to. The quarterback who reminds me most of me playing now is blank.
Josh Allen.
The wide receiver, one I was playing, who I thought was the best of all the wide receivers, was blank.
Steve Smith.
The toughest teammate I ever had was blank.
Thomas Davis.
The greatest leader I ever shared a huddle or locker room with was blank.
Ryan Khalil.
The person that I learned the most from was blank.
Ryan Khalil.
The defender that I was thinking about the most the night before was blank.
Depending on the team.
You got nothing for me there?
No, not really. It depended on the team, man. It wasn't one specific player that I never really feared a player. It was just being very mindful of who you have to be prepared for. If that makes sense.
The one guy that I saw who had a bigger arm than me was blank.
A lot of them.
There were not a lot of them.
A lot, Cam?
Cam, there were not a lot of them.
Yeah, it was. Listen, the way we played the game may have been different, and the showcasing may not have necessarily been in place for me to show my arm strength or for them to have showed their arm strength. But a lot of what's done is highlighting certain strengths. I've seen a stat where my career was being compared to Dak Prescott's. He played the game completely different. That's not a good comparison. They went off of how he plays the game, and that's pretty much in the pocket. Well, I played the game any way the defense gave me an opportunity to attack them. So I resorted a lot to running the football. So if they would have put up a stat for rushing yards, which they didn't, and his rushing yards, it would be a complete different kind of lopsided kind of view. But it just depends. And arm strength is just one of those things that certain systems of philosophical offenses are kind of geared to take shots down the field. There was times where we had coordinators from, the Mike Shula's of the world, the North Turners of the world. They wanted to take shots. And then there was just times where you just had to, up tempo. So needless to say, that's why I say that. I didn't have the strongest arm and never proclaimed to that.
The best athlete I ever saw on a football field was blank.
Percy Harvin.
That's a good one. Percy Harvin, another feared one, by the way. Percy Harvin, another feared teammate. I don't know who's second to Steve Smith. The second most feared teammate I had to Steve Smith was blank.
Luke Kuechly.
That's pretty good too, actually.
Cam, can you win a Super Bowl with Tua as your quarterback? Not you, the Dolphins, of course.
Yes.
You can, huh?
Yes, you can. Or when I looked at this past weekend's game results, with Tua, you got Waddle, that whole team embodies speed. So the need for speed aspect. And there's times where they personified that in different elements and situations, whether that is. But if that team gets on a roll and they're moving the ball at a high level, they have every right, to win the Super Bowl. It just didn't happen this year.
Cam, I believe I'm one of those media members that lacks the credentials, but for my money, you're the greatest goal line weapon in the history of the game. You've come up in a lot of debates, and I know you're 34 years old. You're younger than Russell Wilson, and there's a politics angle to why it is that you're not playing there. But if you look at production, there was a drop-off, and we've always wondered what was the cause of that drop-off. I'll ask you directly. I've made the excuse before that it might have been the car accident that you got into, but you don't make excuses. Can you explain it to me?
Well, people who are not familiar with my career, meaning being in a small market like Charlotte, it's not like New York or Dallas or whatever have you. My drop-off in my career happened by way of a shoulder injury that I was sustained on a penalty that got called back. My rotator cuff, I tried to push a guy out of bounds in a way where, I landed awkwardly on my shoulder. And that was really the demise of my career from the pushing the ball downfield aspect. It wasn't the back injury that I sustained in the car accident. It was the shoulder. There was times where I could not throw even in practice. But that was just something that, my team and team personnel knew. But it was an injury that I sustained, I think it was 2016 versus the San Diego Chargers. They were San Diego at that time. And it was a interception that ended up getting called back. So, yeah.
I got to imagine, Cam, that a dozen times on a Sunday, you see a roughing the passer call and you just look at your friends and you're like, oh, come on, come on.
It's not as that egregious these days. They just send it to me via text message, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. And I don't think my come on is that verbal or outspoken, but it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your friends are taunting you with it. It sounds like they're all there. They are texting you saying you should have played in this NFL.
Correct. Well, I don't think Justin Fields could say that right now because he's still going through the same situations that I had too. And Justin is a person who I know very well, seeing him in high school at the age of 16, playing on my 707 All-Star team. So seeing his struggles and his issues from being protected at the quarterback position is something that I can kind of empathize with him a little bit.
Well, what's happening there? Because you got to be careful with some of this stuff because you know how it gets aggregated and what goes viral. Why are you choosing Justin Fields there instead of Josh Allen?
Well, Justin Fields hasn't been protected, in my opinion. I mean, it's simple. Some of the hits that he's been taking, even when he's given himself up, hasn't felt like he's been protected. So that's why I say Justin Fields per se more than Josh Allen. And that's not to say this person deserves more than that person. It's the referee's responsibility to protect the player. And there's times where there's egregious hits that Justin hasn't been protected.
Who's the quarterback you like watching the most now?
The same ones y'all like to watch. I mean, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. And honestly, too, even with the statement to be what the statement is, I love how Jared Goff's control of the offense. And really, I'm a fan of Dan Campbell. I mean, that guy there he's a coach that you want to play for. Just that whole team is just fun to watch. Very scrappy, opportunistic, and just fearless when it comes to fourth down situations.
He's the host of the shows 4th and 1 and Funky Friday on his YouTube channel. Cam, good catching up with you. Good seeing you. Happy to see you happy with new endeavors. May the challenges be fulfilling, sir.
Oh, man. Thank you so much for having me. And as I always say, with love.
Hey, it's Mike Ryan. I love football, and I love Miller Lite. Why do I love Miller Lite? Well, dependable flavor, the fact that it's a beer that tastes like beer, the fact that when I'm having a Miller Lite, I don't have to think for 1 second about the beer that I'm drinking. And I know that it's only 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. It's my favorite beer. I believe in the product. You might be sick of hearing me talk about it, but I'll be talking about it till I'm old and gray. Because Miller Lite is with me wherever I go, no matter the season, and especially the wintertime. I love drinking Miller Lite during the winters because when it's cold outside, I don't need a koozie for it. It stays a perfect temp. It is the best beer, and it pairs well with playoff football. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere that they sell beer. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.